is Fredrik Holberg. I am the sales director here for Yubico, covering the Nordics and Baltics. And today, I want to give a quick rundown, as I said, about Yubico and the YubiKey as the strongest multi-factor authentication solution out there on the market. And Yubico itself, it was founded back in 2007 in Sweden. And we basically started the company with the mission to create a secure login for everyone, basically, and to make it as easy and as available as possible for the entire industry, basically. And the idea is to have one simple security key to protect all services. And we've been highly successful in this, but also a part of our big success is that we've been the leading innovators within this space, not only from the hardware basis of the key themselves, but also we are also the leading innovators of the FIDO and the passkey open authentication standards, where we were the first. I mean, if you look at the coding of the FIDO standard, for instance, that is our co-founder, Jacob, who wrote the first lines of code there. So that is a very cool thing in itself. So we've been very at the forefront of the development of the authentication world. And why are we doing this? Well, we all know there's high stakes going on at the moment when it comes to the authentication and security world. Cyber threats are evolving rapidly, and they are outpacing business defenses, and they're also increasing the risk. And 80% of breaches are caused by stolen passwords. And then you see as well that the attacks have surged by approximately 75% year on year since 2023, with breaches averaging about $5 million. I think they're even up to like 6.5 million now by the end of last year. And what we also see is that AI-driven attacks exploit human vulnerabilities and are using phishing kits and malware as a service toolboxes. This means that you no longer have to be an expert to be a cyber criminal anymore. You basically just buy out of the box ready attack toolkits and then use readily available lists of login information you can buy on the black market. And this has significant impact because enterprise breaches, as I said, they cost millions. And especially for small and medium enterprises, I mean, 60% of these companies are shut down within 6 months after a breach. So AI is ramping up, cyber attacks are inevitable, and strong defenses are no longer an IT admin tasks. It is a business imperative. So when we see as well, like we look at these hackers and attacks and so on, what we say nowadays is that gone are the era of when hackers were coding and doing advanced attacks and so on. They don't hack in anymore. They simply log in and they gain access to these login credentials, yours and mine, via phishing, vishing, and farming attacks, basically. Because once you have the key to the kingdom, that's when you can do the damage. That's where you can steal corporate secrets. You can do ransomware. You can do all these different things. And what we also have to realize is that often when they do these attacks, they don't do these additional attacks straight away. They can lie dormant. They can lie dormant and wait that and bide their time undetected and then do the damage. So strong security for the business is an imperative to achieve compliance, protect the brand, and ensure uninterrupted operations and business continuity. Any lapse in any of these areas can have major negative repercussions for the organizations and the trust it's built with its customers. Or if you look at government institutions and governments themselves, it's citizens and the impact that can have. So how are companies keeping up with these things, basically? So as cyber threats grow more sophisticated, I mean, organizations, you must rethink user verification. We know passwords are no longer sufficient. I mean, 45% of passwords can be cracked in under a minute. And while multi-factor authentication does prove defense, not all multi-factor authentication is created equal. That's very important to remember. CISA and state governments and other institutions warn against SMS, for instance, as it's considered the weakest MFA methodology, and cyber criminals rapidly intercept SMS codes. And it's actually considered easier to hack than an email. So what about authentication apps? Well, they can be hacked easily as well. For instance, through adversary in the middle attacks and MFA fatigue attacks. And now bad actors can also spread malware easily through a range of mobile scams. So relying on smartphones for authentication introduces major enterprise risks. And smart enterprises, they know that the good enough approach is no longer acceptable to stay ahead of evolving threats. And because here's the fundamental problem with the good enough approach. For an enterprise to stay safe, they have to count on all their employees to make the right decision every single time. So say if you're an organization of 10,000 employees, you have to rely or trust the fact that all these 10,000 employees will never make a single bad decision. And also, as we have to realize, that's all it takes to be infiltrated is one bad decision. So would you feel secure relying on all of your users to make the right decision every single time, to be vigilant 24/7, 365, constantly? And most organizations, they do have a partial protection when they roll out keys, security hardware keys, to privileged users only. But in today's day and age, with the environment being as it is, we have to really look at it and really ask ourselves this question that shouldn't every user be considered a privileged user? Because burdening users with security decisions, which they are not qualified to make, is the makings of a costly breach and reputational damage. So as I mentioned before, attackers don't break in, they simply log in. They're using yours and my credentials and codes that are easily intercepted and stolen. Now, companies, they pour billions into sophisticated network security and breach detection, but they rely on legacy passwords and authentication methods. Now, these are easily bypassed and create a false sense of security. Now, the world has changed, which we all realize, and it's therefore time for a rethink when it comes to cybersecurity. And in this new world, to put a bit of a creative framework around it, is that in this new world, only trusted users should gain access to your systems. We need to eliminate passwords and therefore closing the most commonly exploited attack surface and provide stronger protection. We need to have purpose-built security that can't be intercepted or bypassed. We need to use authentication designed to meet stringent security regulations. And every user needs to be considered as a privileged user with a true zero trust mentality applied. And we also need to utilize pre-configured security keys to create a frictionless user experience. Now, luckily, to put a bit of positive spin on all of this, that world is here today with the YubiKey, which is the original passkey and FIDO key, and is still to this day completely undefeated. It's never been breached. It delivers unbeatable protection. It's eliminating the vulnerabilities of traditional multi-factor authentication while enabling a fast and frictionless user experience. It has proven security, can come pre-configured, and provides fast and seamless user experience. What it also, three other points with it, is that it requires no power, no network connection, or client software. It works across multiple devices, whether it be a desktop, mobile, online services, shared devices, etc. It's natively supported by all major operating systems and web browsers. It has a multi-protocol functionality to cover legacy as well as modern systems, all in one solution. It's available commercially, either as a one-off purchase or via a subscription and delivery service to basically increase the scale of deployments. It has a transparent and secure supply chain. Yubico owns the entire manufacturing mechanism of the YubiKey with a manufacturing site in Sweden as well as the United States. And this key itself costs less than a password reset, and definitely far less than a mobile phone. And of course, we have a YubiKey for every need and use case possible, with multiple protocols and multiple form factors. And this in itself, all these different form factors and protocols and so on, allows us to cover a wide range of different use cases and customers and industries, etc. One example is, for instance, Kauna City Polyclinic, which is, as probably know, you're probably aware of this institution itself, but they serve 160,000 residents. They employ 1,700 professionals across 14 different branches. And what they wanted to do was to basically secure their patient data as well as achieve NIS2 compliance. And it's no doubt about it, but I mean, considering the type of data they handle, it's highly sensitive information. So the solution, what they decided to go for was basically device-bound passkeys on the YubiKey. And then what they also did is that they enforced YubiKey authentication, meaning that once 90% of employees had received their YubiKeys, it was no longer possible to log into a workstation without a YubiKey. And this requirement extended to mobile users, where staff used the NFC capability of their YubiKey to authenticate to the services. And the results here was an 80% drop in password resets, freeing up IT resources. It significantly reduced phishing risks, and it provided a faster and more reliable login on shared workstations. Just going to quickly run through a few other examples. T-Mobile, they rolled out 200,000 YubiKeys across the world globally to all their employees because they saw a escalation of cyber threats as well as phishing attempts. And the only way to do this, to eliminate this, was to deploy YubiKeys, since that is a phishing-resistant authentication solution. And they then eliminated through this passwords and OTP codes completely. And it wasn't only to employees in itself, in turn, like the admin workers and so on, but it's also to vendors and retail partners this was rolled out to. We work a lot with the public sector. For instance, City of Munich secured 32,000 employees across various departments because they have basically experienced, on average, 2 ransomware attacks per month. And with the deployment of YubiKeys, they eliminated those attacks completely. As well as, again, providing a far simpler and faster authentication for it as well. So increased security, but also an increased user-friendliness. Schneider Electric, we work with in manufacturing as well. They require an on-premise offline solution as well. Of course, the YubiKey doesn't require to be connected. It doesn't require battery connectivity at all. So it works perfectly there. But also, they needed to encrypt their data within the manufacturing process as well. So they also deployed, apart from the YubiKey, our own HSM solution as well. And through that, secured their entire global supply chain. And then finally, Okta, they secured 100% of the workforce by deploying over 6,000 keys across 42 countries within 4 months. And then that basically resulted in 100% workforce coverage, but also zero admin overhead for any account recovery processes. Now, these are just a handful of customers we are working with. I mean, we have a multiple level of customers. I think we're looking at least 5,000 customers now globally working with us. And this ranges from everything from large multinational global institutions like Google and Microsoft, etc., down to small local municipalities where we like 5 to 10 employees. So this just shows the applicability of the YubiKey and the range it can cover and secure organizations. Now, of course, it might be easy to think that, oh, an organization needs to be in a certain position in order to go and deploy YubiKeys and so on. That is incorrect. The YubiKey, I mean, if you start like all our customers are moving to a passwordless and phishing-resistant environment. But moving to this environment is a journey. It's not an overnight transition. So we know that most organizations have IT systems that will continue to require support for legacy authentication protocols for some time. They might be relying on still on on-premise environments. They want to move to the cloud, etc. However, with the YubiKey, since it combines a range of old as well as modern authentication protocols on the same key, you can now move towards a passwordless and phishing-resistant environment through phases. But first getting the strongest and most consistent phishing-resistant authentication, and then ultimately to passwordless. So despite what environment the customer is in, they can deploy YubiKeys now and use the same YubiKeys across the entire journey to a passwordless environment. So finally, to summarize a little bit here now as well, if you want to provide the highest level of security throughout your organization by ensuring only trusted users gain access from the start, you proactively need to stop attacks before they happen and reduce resources and the time needed for detection or firefighting, if you like, and response time, basically, by eliminating passwords and closing the most commonly exposed attack surface and providing strong authentication. By introducing hardware-based security keys that can't be intercepted or bypassed and designed to meet stringent security regulations, by providing seamless, robust security for every user, not just a select few, because every user is part of your attack surface, as well as providing pre-configured security keys for frictionless user experience, then you need Yubico and the YubiKey as a strategic partner and take the guesswork out of authentication security. And as I said, we've been highly successful in this. We've sold now close to 40 million YubiKeys globally. We have more than 5,000 business customers, and we have more than 1,000 proven technology partner integrations, everything from operating systems to previous access management solutions, to CMSs, to VPNs, etc. They all support YubiKeys directly or the protocols that are within a YubiKey as well, whether that be FIDO, passkeys, certificates, or OTPs, etc. We have proven to deliver a 99.9% credential theft risk reduction, as well as a 92% reduction in support incidents. And that's it for me. Thank you very much, and I hope it turned out okay in the end.
Everything was fine and very good timing, Frederick. So thank you, first of all. And now we have few questions for you to address. So yeah, one of the first one. So what makes the YubiKey more phishing resistant than OTP codes or push notifications like SMS or authenticator apps?
Yes, very good question. It is probably one of the most dominant questions we're receiving. To answer, I need to break it down in a few segments. So first of all, phishing resistant. Phishing, the definition is basically where we say that a user is, because I said before, vigilance is impossible. A user can't be constantly aware of their actions. And phishing resistance means that a user should be able to make a mistake. They should be able to click on accidentally a phishing link and still be protected. YubiKeys provide that level of security, but also the protocols FIDO and certificates are the only two protocols that are considered phishing resistant. The key itself is basically just the fact that it's not connected to anything. The entire authentication process happens within the key. So there's nothing to intercept from. It can't be stolen. There's no token to be stolen, basically. And that's the security it provides.
Okay. Then, yeah, practical question. Which YubiKey models do you recommend for business use, and how do we choose the right one for the users?
Good question. That is a very good point. And that is actually where I would say that the predominant say solution there is we have a set of certified partners and resellers, and we work with your Hermitage Solutions as well to engage in conversation with ourselves, Hermitage, and our partners, the certified partners we work with, to define what kind of keys you need. Because the keys themselves, as mentioned, we have a wide range of keys. Everything from multi-protocol keys that has FIDO, certificate, OTPs, etc., all of them in one key, down to the single protocol key, which is FIDO only. We have biometric keys as well. So it all depends on what kind of use case scenario you have. And that's an important part, to spend time with us and our partners to sit down and iron out what keys you need. Because it's not a either or situation. You don't have to go for only a certain one type of key. It could be like, for instance, IT administrators. They require maybe access to more legacy systems, other environments, therefore need a multi-protocol key. Whilst a salesperson like myself, or at least a regular office worker, might just need the FIDO or passkey protocols. So they might require different types of keys. And that, of course, become then more cost efficient for you as well. It might also be that you want to have a subscription-based model rather than a perpetual model. And it's because the subscription-based provides different services, it provides replacement keys, etc. So it's important to engage in conversation with us, and we will help you to define what keys you need for your use case and environments, and what journey you're going to be on. Are you going to move towards a more passwordless environment in future? That determines what kind of keys you should have as well. So speak to ourselves, speak to Hermitage, and speak to our certified partners.
Okay, another one interesting actually. Is it possible to use this key instead of national ID card? Like signing documents requires PIN 1 and PIN 2.
Oh, that's an interesting one. We, at the moment, work a lot towards the EU wallet initiative that's happening right now. And where that is going, I unfortunately can't divulge too much information about. But regarding replacing an ID wallet or like an EU like an ID solution, not at the moment, no. The YubiKey is like the key to a lock in itself. It's not you can carry certificates, you can carry other solutions so on it, but at the moment it doesn't replace, for instance, in Estonia, Baltics, and so on, the ID solution you have there, it doesn't do that at the moment. No.
Okay, understood. Okay, okay, one more quick one maybe before we wrap up. So what happens if a user loses the YubiKey? What is the recommended back or recovery process?
For a enterprise, that's not an issue. The key, as I said, is deployed centrally via either you have your Microsoft Entra ID or a Google Workspace environment, or you have a previous. So I saw Delinea, for instance, was here presenting earlier. You can deploy YubiKeys via Delinea and other previous access platforms and so on. We have CMS systems and stuff like that. So if a user loses their key, they simply go in and say, "I lost my key." The IT admin goes in, revoke access for old key, relaunches a new one. Here you go, here's your new key.
Okay.
It was that. If you're a private user, we always recommend have two keys, one primary and one backup.
Okay, okay, super. Thank you, Frederick, for its great and clear explanation about MFA and what YubiKey does in this sense. So thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you.